Hello, everyone. My name is Jay Walter, and this is Rebuilding, a show about you, a show for you, a show with you, where we talk about how you can overcome obstacles, face your fears, and become the person you want to be. So let's start now. Let's build our kingdoms. Let's reclaim our lives. Let's start rebuilding. Hello, friends. It's back to Rebuilding today with Jay Walter, and I've got a guest host with me today. It's Brad Neufeld of the Brad Neufeld Show, and one of our great hosts here on the Tribe of Kings Information Network.
Thank you, Jay.
And so let's start with our daily quote for the show. And this is from Robert Fulghum. I believe that imagination is stronger than knowledge, that myth is more potent than history, that dreams are more powerful than facts, that hope always triumphs over experience, that laughter is the only cure for grief, and I believe that love is stronger than death. And that's been a great quote for me this week, as I've been looking for things to share on the show, and having some experiences in my life this week, and things to overcome, and that just kind of helped me rethink what I'm doing. And really today I want to start with a story, things that that kind of woke me up as I was journaling one morning.
Okay.
And when my mom passed away, my wife and I bought the house that I grew up in, and we moved in, and because it had a ramp to the front door for when we get old and need a walker or a wheelchair to get in, and it had a stair elevator so we could get up and down the stairs when we get older. And I had this idea that I just needed to have, my recliner and a TV, and I could be just like my dad and come home from work and read the paper and watch TV, fall asleep in front of a ball game, or, because that's what I thought men did, because that's what I saw my dad do.
Yeah, my grandpa did that.
Yeah.
So
that was the big goal, is to have my recliner and a TV room, and I could just sit and relax.
I remember my grandpa's being orange with wood armrests, orange cloth. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. And so I had that about 3 years ago. We moved in, or it's almost 4 years ago now. Moved in. I had my recliner. I was ready to sit in my recliner. My dad passed away in 2003 at the age of 83. And I'm thinking, that seems kind of young to me. He had health problems and really was not living a good life for the last 5-6 years of his life because of the health problems. And I thought, how much of that is because he sat in a chair?
Right.
He didn't go out. He worked for the post office, and he knew he was going to get a good pension and all these things. And so he was comfortable with where he was at.
So he went from walking all the time, being out, being...
Well, he worked in the office,
okay.
So he wasn't a carrier, but he went from active and interacting with people every day and went to inactivity.
Yeah.
They did a lot of things when all us kids moved out. They went on trips and things, but really, other than taking care of his yard, he was inactive. He wasn't trying to learn, well, I can't say that. He always had his clippings from the newspaper of quotes and things that, probably your grandpa did the same kind of thing.
The newspaper was everything. Every day had to have the newspaper, and if it wasn't there, he was hot.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds
out there
familiar.
In the driveway.
So I thought about this, and about a year after we moved in there, I heard about the Kings. And my wife was a little concerned that I wanted to spend my time sitting in that chair. And so after I got going to a few meetings and talking about things, she says, well, at least it's getting you out of your chair and getting you out and being with people. And so that's kind of keyed something. And as we learn more and as we talk about more and as I've done more investigations on what I want to do. What led me to do this radio show is stop thinking small. You know, our recliner is this little tiny world. You want to live in this little tiny world in this little tiny room in your house for the rest of your life. And I'm like, no. I don't want to do that.
No, that doesn't sound fun when you put it that way.
Yeah. And so if I'm doing something that makes me uncomfortable now, now that I've learned this thing, if I'm doing something uncomfortable, I know I'm going in the right direction.
Yeah. Well, that's a good way to look at it.
So, you know, it's something I don't know how to do. It makes you uncomfortable.
Right. Well, and now that you're mentioning it, I look at it as, I'll just say simple physics. I know none of us probably paid attention to our physics classes in high school.
I did.
You did?
I love physics.
But you know, unless, an object that stays at rest, or is at rest, stays at rest. And it's true with thoughts, too. It's true with, because I just believe thoughts are things. And so,
absolutely.
And so with that thought comes a necessary action in order to complete that thought, which if we're not used to doing it, then of course it's going to feel, as you say, uncomfortable or difficult or something like that. No different than, getting a big boulder out of your yard. I mean, once you get it rolling, it'll keep rolling.
Yeah.
But
you got to apply some force.
You got to apply some force. So I don't know what's your thoughts on that. That's just the way I look at it. That's what but that uncomfortableness or the perception of the uncomfortable part, I think, is what stops us. In our tracks, because we're like, I've already lived my life. I've already done all that hard. I want to relax right now. But again, unless you're moving, unless you're progressing, you're right. You go backwards.
Yeah. So that's one of the things I want to talk about on this show as we move forward is, and through future shows is why is this uncomfortable, or is uncomfortable bad?
Yeah.
Is it not? It's not necessarily bad to be uncomfortable. It says, hey, there's something new out here. I kind of want to learn about this.
Right.
Or I want to figure out how to do a podcast, or I want to figure out how to do something new in my life that makes my brain keep working.
And was it Here I am interviewing you. It sounds like that.
No, that's fine.
Yeah. When you first thought of doing it, was it something that, that sounds intriguing, or did it come in a different form?
Well, it started out as I started a training with Ben Hardy.
Okay.
And he basically said, if you can look back at the man you were, or the person you were a year ago, and not be embarrassed, then you haven't moved enough. Or be the person that the person you were would be proud of. You look at it both ways.
Yeah.
And so what are the big goals? What are the big things you want to do in your life? What have you got set for 10 years out or 15 years out? Why not do them this year?
Right. Or what would you like to see happen?
What you'd like to see happen.
And it's not all going to happen in the first year. That's I call that the sitcom syndrome. We're all subject to that because
crime shows get solved in an hour.
Right.
They run DNA and all this stuff, and it only takes an hour.
Oh, right. And it's all the case is solved and everything. And so I think that's a lot of things that hold us back, because I see that with people I work with all the time. They try something for a week and they go, see, Brad, none of this stuff works.
Yeah.
And it's like, I have to stop and say, okay, it's taken you, how old are you now? It's taken you that long to become who you are. Do you really think you're going to unwind all of this in 1 week? No.
And that's what my parents used to tell me. They see these young kids that they get into this, multi-$100,000 house, and they've got to have the microwave and the huge TV and all the furniture that their parents have. They've got to have the things that their parents have taken 60 years to accumulate in their house. They want it right now. And, and so, through this training with Ben, I thought about what I really kind of wanted to do, and started in last October. I thought about, retirement and this recliner and what could I do different? What can I do to make some dreams come true when I retire? Because, am I going to have enough money?
Mm-hmm.
But what can I do to supplement that is different from what I do now, but it's new and different, so it makes me stretch a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought about doing some voiceover work years ago, 15 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of, it was so difficult to get into back then, and the opportunities are so much wider now. I thought, okay, that's what I'll do. I've been watching videos, and hey, I kind of have a voice.
Mm-hmm.
I speak every day, and
yes, yeah, you do.
and so let's try this, because you hear about all these people making all this money doing voiceover, and I don't need to make huge money,
right?
But I'd like to have a little
Mm-hmm.
extra supplement the
right.
retirement income and things like that. So if I start now, I can build up a business, and then so I started, and it's taken me 6 months or so, and I'm starting to see some people come in.
Yeah.
And at the very first, if I'd have taken this attitude, well, it didn't work the first month,
Yeah.
I'm going to quit. This is
you'd have been done.
Is crazy. I'd have been done.
Yep.
But I had this goal. I wanted to do this VO business, this voiceover business. Mm-hmm. And then as I started that, then people started showing up to teach me. Mm-hmm. I had to pay some coaches. Mm-hmm. But I had some friends that had experience. One of them sitting across the studio here from me.
Oh, thank you. Well, I had to look behind me. No, it's me. I'm in the corner.
But, and other men that I've come to know over the last 2 years have reached out and said, hey, yeah, I know I can help you with this, or let me help you, guide you on the business side of things. Because I'm an engineer by training. Mm-hmm. Business is one of those things you let the bean counters do, and advertising and marketing and all those things. So I'm having to learn some new things, and it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And so, but it's becoming less uncomfortable in some parts, and okay, I know how to do that kind of now. And so I stretch out a little bit more and try and do some other things. Mm-hmm. And so what really kind of came to my mind when I think about that recliner is, it's okay to relax every once in a while. You have to recharge. You have to
absolutely
spend some time. I spend some time with my wife. I sit next to her, and she's in her recliner, and I'm in my recliner, and we hold hands and whatever. But, I can go there to recharge and reflect a little bit, and I sit there to write in my journal. But I don't want to end up there for the rest of my life. I want to be out and doing this. I'm sitting behind a microphone, but I'm not inactive.
Right.
So.
Well, your mind's still going. Your mind's still active.
Yeah.
And I think, the old actor George Burns, that was one thing that impressed me about him, too. He always had 5 years of events planned ahead.
Yeah.
He attributed that to his long life. I don't know if did he make it to 100? I think he
did. He did. I believe so.
I believe that's what attributed to his long life. But even when he passed away, he still had 4 or 5 years of planning there. But he did. I remember him saying that, and I thought, you know what, that's right. If I could share just a quick story about that, there was a lady. If we don't have a reason to live, we tend to deteriorate pretty quickly, and that's something that's proven. I've seen a lot of studies on that. Like in elderly couples that have been married for more than 40 years, it's typical when one spouse dies, even though the other spouse is perfectly 100% healthy, 60% of them die within the first 2 years.
Yeah.
Just because they're lonely, they don't know where to turn and all that stuff. But there was a lady that I worked with. She actually came to one of the seminars I did down in Las Vegas, and she was 84 years old. And I thought, this is interesting that she's here at this thing. And afterwards, I was just intrigued with her story. She was just really funny. And I said, do you mind if I interview you? I talked to you for a little while, and I went over to her house, and she was just telling me all this stuff. She had diabetes. She had fought off cancer 3 times. All this stuff, all this pain that she's living through. And I just said, ma'am, I'm not into, genocide or anything. I'm not into whatever that word, euthanasia or whatever.
Euthanasia, yeah.
Sorry, not genocide.
Yeah, let's not.
I'm not into
either one of those.
That's right. I said, but do you have a belief in an afterlife? And she goes, oh yeah, I have a strong belief, and I can't wait to see my family again, and blah, and everything. And I said, well, what are you hanging on for? And she goes, I don't know, Brad. I don't know. And it was just seconds later, her cat came out and jumped up in her lap. And she petted him there for a little while, and we just kind of changed subjects on things. And she said, well, do you mind if I go, to the restroom really quick? I said, of course, go right ahead. And she put her cat down. She goes, I don't know what you would do without me, cat. If I wasn't, hanging around, nobody else would take care of you. And it just hit me like a ton of bricks. That's what's keeping her here. And her cat happened to be 14 years old at the time. And so we stayed friends for another 6 months or so, and she's still hanging in there. Her cat died. She had called me and said, in tears, my cat's dying. And 24 hours later, she passed. It was
wow.
As soon as her cat died. And I just thought, yep, that's...
she didn't have anything to hang around.
Long way of validating what you're saying. When you have a purpose, it seems like you're able to overcome a lot of things.
Yeah. And so, that's been my change of heart is I want to create a purpose for me. So... anyway, that's my story, and kind of.
I love it. I love it.
Why I'm here.
I like the epiphany you had with the chair.
Yeah, and I just want to make sure that I am sharing the things that I've learned over the last 58 years, and letting people know what's going on. So, well, let's take a quick break here on rebuilding, and we'll talk to you when we come back.
Sometimes what we want most in life is just a second chance to do what we should have done to begin with. I'm author Richard Paul Evans. The Road Home, the long-awaited final book in the best-selling Broken Road trilogy, is now on sale. The Broken Road is a story of hope and redemption. It's about a man walking Route 66 back to the only woman he has ever loved, hoping that she might take him back. If you haven't started the Broken Road trilogy, you can now read all 3 books without waiting. The Road Home, now on sale wherever books are sold, just in time for Mother's Day.
Hello, my friends. This is Brad Neufeld, host of the Five Kingdoms radio show right here on the Tribe of Kings Information Network. Be sure and tune in weekly to hear the latest and greatest on the Tribe of Kings, and also to learn all those things that you need to do to be the best that you can be.
Okay, welcome back to Rebuilding. We appreciate everybody who's listening to us today, and hope you're enjoying what we have to say, and you'll tune back in as we continue on. But I want to continue to talk about this uncomfortable feeling we get. You remember back when you were a kid and you were first wanting to learn how to ride a bike, and in my day we didn't have a lot of training wheels, and so Dad had run alongside, or my older brother.
Yeah, Dad holding us by the neck.
The neck. Or I think I used the seat when I taught my kids, but having to learn balance, and when you started to learn how to play baseball or football, it was hard. You didn't know the rules. You didn't know what was expected or how things worked, how your body was going to work. And it was hard.
Yeah.
And you didn't expect to be playing on an NFL team the next week.
No.
Or playing at the Met when you learned a musical instrument, or playing in a famous rock and roll band, any of those kind of things. Those things that are hard, you have to learn through a process.
Right.
And I think even as we grow older, we can still learn those things. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's not any harder.
No, if we put the time into it.
Yeah.
I always like to throw Colonel Sanders, out there.
Yeah.
The guy was 62 years old, retired, and had $700 to his name. Might have been a little bit more than that, but $2,400 or something like that. But when he never gave up, and when he passed away just before the age of 90, he was the 3rd largest food chain in America. So things can happen if we just put our passions there and just go for it. And people worry about making mistakes.
You know what? Mistakes are okay. It's not, you didn't fail.
No.
You either succeeded in what you were doing or you learned from it. That's the attitude you need to change in my life, especially.
Well, and I share that story a lot about Thomas Edison. That was one of the things that his partners did after they had their 1,000th failure. I love the thing that he said when they were all ready to just give up and quit. He said, "Gentlemen, we have not failed 1,000 times. We have simply found 1,000 ways that the light bulb will not work."
Yeah.
That's all, And so I kind of look at life. I approach life that way. I've got to figure it out until, and it works. I mean, it does. I can't tell you I can. It's probably about 5 times in my life where I've seen that happen, where I thought something was impossible and all I had was my feeling in my chest of, nope, I can do this, and just keep going. You just don't ask, you don't try to put too much thought into it. Well, anyway, let me correct that. You have to put some thought into it, but try new things. Go down different paths, talk to new people, keep experiencing new things, and then next thing you know, and this is the cool thing about it, literally you wake up one day and people start calling you.
Yeah.
Remember that thing you told me about 2 years ago? Yeah. Are you still doing it? Well, yes, I am. And you're like, oh my gosh, if I'd have quit last week, then this wouldn't be happening.
That's right.
Now.
That's right.
But you got to put the time into it.
I guess the quote I like to hear is, the people who say something's impossible should not interrupt the person who's doing it.
Well, that comes to a very good example, if you don't mind me sharing this, too. The crabs in the bucket. I know a lot of people have heard that out there, but I like to remind people of that. If you don't know what that is, fishermen who catch crabs for a living, they don't put them in... Well, after they catch them in the nets, they put them in buckets, and they don't put lids on the top of them because... they know they're never going to get out, but it's not for lack of trying. It's so funny. I've seen it live once. They'll put the crabs in there, drop the 5-gallon bucket, and of course they just kind of smash at the bottom, but then they just start clawing each other, pushing each other, and the pile just kind of grows. And then all of a sudden, one of the crabs will go and grab up to the top of the lip of the bucket and go to pull himself out and over, and the other crabs reach up, grab him, and pull him back down in.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was something somebody made up, but I'm like, oh my gosh! And I sat there for 15 minutes going, they're never going to get out. They just keep pulling each other down. Well, it relates to human behavior too. But there's a reason for it, but I like to tell people and mention it so that you can expect it. A lot of people think, well, I've got to go find positive people to be around. Well, in this world of competition, it's going to be hard to find the perfect scenario that you're dreaming of. It really is.
Yes, it is.
And it's a matter of using those people who are trying to pull you down as motivation. And I can share several stories with star athletes that have been able to do that. But expect it. Anytime there's a relationship that you have with somebody and you're kind of doing the same things, you have the same belief systems, you kind of like similar things, everything flows. But the moment that you say to yourself, you know what, I want to improve my life. I want to do better, whether it's spiritually, whether it's physically, whether it's something else. The other person you have in your life is going to have some feelings, and we can put all the labels on it we want to, jealousy or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. But they have those feelings, and it's going to come across as concern. It's going to come across as, I don't know if you really want to do that or not. I know a lot of people who have done that and failed. I know a lot of people who have tried that and they lost everything. I know people, and they just get all this negative stuff. Well, those are the crabs.
Yeah.
Okay. And what I would encourage everybody listening to us today to do is when that happens, I'm not saying if, it's when. It will happen.
Absolutely.
Pause for a minute and ask yourself, listen to your heart. If your heart tells you keep going, you keep going, okay? Yeah. And so what's really happening there is the other person is afraid that you're going to leave them.
Yeah.
So they're unconsciously doing things to pull you back down to get the relationship where it was.
Yeah.
Okay, but I promise you this, I have been working with people for more than 30 years. I've literally worked with over 3,500 families. I've worked with tens of thousands of people. Human behavior is very predictable, okay? If you keep going, and again, I promise you this, within a matter of time, sometimes it takes a week, sometimes it takes a month, sometimes it takes a year. After you succeed, that person who was trying to pull you down is going to come back to you, and they're going to say, hey, I see you're doing this now. I've been there the whole time for you. I knew you could do it. But they're going to ask you that sincerely, and they're going to say, can you help me get there now too? It happens every time.
Yeah.
So use that as an incentive, no matter who, who's falling, trying to pull you down. And again, talk to your heart, because there's nothing wrong with, taking advice and listening to it, but that doesn't mean you have to follow it.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Well, yeah, you need to be. Is it a real passion? Is it really something?
Yeah.
I will never be a star basketball player.
Well, do you really want to?
I don't know that I want to be a star
Correct.
basketball player,
Yeah.
especially at 58.
Yeah. Well, who knows?
But-
you might
or-
put the time and effort into it, and somebody put you on their team for a couple of games. You never know.
No. I will never be an Olympic swimmer.
Right.
But again, that's not my passion.
Right.
What I want to be or what I'd like to become is a radio personality.
Perfect.
And a voiceover artist, and someone that shares the messages, the things I've learned over my lifetime.
Exactly.
And that has become. It was kind of scary at first. It's been hard.
Yeah.
I've had to learn a lot of new things, but it's starting to become fun. It's starting to become kind of exciting as I see some reaction. We get questions now and then on what we talk about, and to be able to react to people and answer questions and help other people. I think all my life that's kind of what I've been looking for and not known it.
Yeah.
That people tell me I have a good listening ear, and that I there's things in my personality that lend me to doing this kind of work. And so, hey, people see a talent in me. Why not go out and see what I can do with it?
Absolutely.
And if I fail, if I make some mistakes, learn from the mistakes and move forward.
But what if you help one person?
Yeah.
And that one person.
Yeah, what is it they say about the guy throwing the starfish back in the ocean?
Right.
And the person next to him, he can't save all the starfish. I made a difference in that one's life.
Right?
He's happier.
Exactly.
So I hope there is one person out there today that's hearing this, and this is touching something in them that makes them move forward with some passion in their life, some goal that they've always thought, I've always wanted to do this. Well, why not go out today and do it?
Yep. Here comes that word, risk.
Yeah. It's scary.
It's scary.
It's
I hear
hard.
people, I don't like risk. Well, I had a motivational speaker. His name's Marshall Silver with a Y. But anyway, one of his quotes is, no risk, no goodies. But I like to put it in proper perspective too. I like to put the word sensible in front of it.
Yeah.
Take sensible risks. Take the time to study it out and ask yourself, like Jay's saying, I love what he said there. Ask yourself, is this something I really like?
Yeah.
If it's not, don't worry about it. Again, you haven't failed. You've just found something that doesn't work. That's it.
There's so many things in this world that we need people to do.
Exactly.
And people to be passionate about, and people to find out what they can find out. The world is full of things that we can learn.
And more is needed.
Yeah.
And don't think that your ideas are stupid. Don't.
Yeah.
Trust me, there are people out there that need your thoughts. I don't know how else to put it.
Yeah. Well, and Edison making the light bulb, people were thinking, why? We've got these gas flames and we
don't need all this other
kerosene lamps, and we've got all this stuff. What do we need a light bulb for?
Yeah. Electricity stuff's scary.
Yeah.
It can kill people.
The light bulb, from my electronics history, is one of the precursors to the vacuum tube. The diode that gave us radio transmissions and reception, and amplifiers that we need for radios and communication and for television. All those things came from this ability to create a glass tube that has a vacuum in it, and the properties of the electron passing through the tube. And so, that one thing that moving forward, and there were other people working on, but he was perfecting the filament.
Correct.
And so, your idea, maybe it seems far-fetched, but, Steve Jobs and the iPhone, the iPad,
share that. That's,
it just, someone asked him when he released the iPad, they said, well, what do you do with it? And he says, I don't know.
I love that.
he made this.
He was sincere too. He goes, I don't know.
I don't know, but
we'll see.
people will find ways to use this. Mm-hmm. And so he provided a platform. And now you look, there are millions of apps on the iPad. Mm-hmm. There's millions of apps on your phone. Mm-hmm. And there's more every day because someone sees a need and they say, hey, I can do that, and I'll provide the world with this new thing. So your idea is not crazy.
No.
Your idea is not stupid.
Nope.
It's different.
Right.
And we need different ideas. We need people that look at the world differently. Mm-hmm. And it may be hard to figure out what you're going to do or how to do what you're going to do. But you may be the only person that will figure that out.
Yeah, and you don't know unless you go for it.
That's right.
That's the thing. So,
and it may be that what do they call it in computers? They call it the killer app. Mm-hmm. It's that thing that makes what you do necessary to the world. Mm-hmm. And when computers were designed, it was to do accounting. Mm-hmm. For the first IBM punch card machines were built for the Army to track their soldiers, their pay and where they were and what their rank was. That was all on the 80-column punch cards that IBM developed.
My dad had those in his office, and he'd take me down there on Saturdays to put them in stacks and things. I remember.
And so when the PC came out, the laptop PC, the killer app was Lotus 123, a spreadsheet program.
Yeah.
And everything moved from these specialized accounting applications to Lotus. Mm-hmm. And then it grew from there. The car. Mm-hmm. Somebody saw a need to get us that horses were expensive and they were not always reliable, or they took a lot of land, and when you got into cities, whatever you needed, this reliable form of transportation. We started the automobile, and the airplane, and all these things. Everybody thought these people were crazy when they came up with these ideas.
So are you telling people to bring out their craziness, Jay?
If you're not a little bit crazy, I think you're just stagnating. You're not trying.
Exactly. Yeah. So that thing with the crabs, that's kind of in a mental capacity there, because I do know when you have lack of support, it's hard. And so again, that's why I like to bring that to your attention. Don't worry about it. Just keep going if your heart's telling you to go. But then there's other things that can hold us back as well. Lack of confidence in our personal abilities. We think, well, I don't have what it takes. I've never been good at anything. I ran the 50-yard dash one time and I came in last, so therefore I suck. Anyway.
Ran the 50-yard dash and I came in next week.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I had a Chevy Vega when they first came out. It was one of the first cars that they'd ever put an automatic transmission in a 4-cylinder car. And I joke around all the time. It goes 0 to 60 in 3.2 minutes, And so, but they improved that over time, thank goodness. I love my Altima that has a 4-cylinder that gets 36 miles to the gallon, and it can get up and haul.
Yeah, get up and boogie.
So thank you, mechanics, for engineers and everything to make that even better. But you have to really stop and ask yourself the question: what is holding me back from getting that thing that I want? And if you don't have the confidence, do what you can. Do something. Again, this is something I do in my practice, is I help people to just get victories. In this world of bigger, better, faster, and we got to do everything right now, I understand the pressure that can come there. but do something and then pat yourself on the back at night and celebrate that you did something.
Yeah, the quick wins, the little things that we do. That's another thing we talk about.
Small successes lead to large successes.
And measure the gain. If you don't make a goal, measure your gain, not the shortfall. Measure the gain, not the gap.
Correct.
And so I got this much better. I wanted to learn German, and so I learned 10 words this week instead of 20. Well, hey, I learned 10 words of German.
Yeah, exactly. And it is human nature to go, I only learned 10 words today. Yeah. No, be happy that you learned the 10 words. Because that's going to lead to 20 tomorrow.
Yeah.
Or, anyway.
And so, mine is I learned how to set up a profile on a freelance site for voiceover. Right. And I'm starting to get some work from it. Hey, I'm starting to get some work from that. I measure the gain.
Yeah.
And things, the successes, and that really makes a big difference. So, Brad, let's take one more break, and we'll be right back on Rebuilding.
My name is Alan Christofferson. You don't know me. Just another book in the library, my father would say, unopened and unread. You have no idea how far I've come or what I've lost. More important, you have no idea what I've found. I'm no one important or famous. No matter. It's better to be loved by one person who knows your soul than millions who don't even know your phone number. I have loved and been loved as deeply as a man can hope for, which makes me a lucky man. It also means that I have suffered. Life has taught me that in order to fly, you must first accept the possibility of falling. I don't know if anyone will ever read what I'm writing, but if you're holding this book, then you've found my story. That makes you my fellow sojourner. If you find something in my journey that will help you with yours, keep it. Some might call this a love story. Those without love will call it a travelogue. To me, it's one man's journey to find hope. There are things that happened to me that you might not believe. There were lessons learned that you might not be ready for. No matter. Accept or dismiss what you will. But let me warn you in advance, which is more than I got, that what you read won't be easy, but it's a story worth telling. It's the story of my walk.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jay Walter, host of Rebuilding, a radio show right here on the Tribe of Kings Information Network. Be sure to tune in weekly to hear more about the Tribe of Kings and to learn how to overcome fear and rebuild your life every day as you become the man you want to be. Welcome back to Rebuilding for our final segment of today's show. Something you said, Brad, reminded me of a story. You're talking about the crabs pulling each other back down in the bucket. Sometimes that is a natural reaction for them, is to pull the others back down in. But I think we can be trained and have been trained throughout our lives for people not to succeed around us. You talked about people kind of holding you back. Yeah. There was a study once I read that a group of monkeys were put in a cage, and a reward of some bananas was put on the top of the cage and on top of a ladder. And the handlers, the scientists who were trying to do this experiment, when the monkeys would go to get that reward, they would punish the monkey and then put it back in the cage. And pretty soon, all the monkeys had tried to go up and get these bananas, and all had been punished. And so now they no longer tried to go up and get the bananas. And so they started to trade in one or two new monkeys into this cage. And as the new monkeys would go to take this reward, the monkeys who had been punished knew that was a bad thing and would pull the new monkeys back and train them to not go get this reward. But eventually, there were all new monkeys. A monkey that had never been punished for trying to go get this banana was not in the cage. But still they exhibited this behavior that a monkey would try, a new monkey would go in and try to go up and get those bananas. And then all the new monkeys would pull him back. And so we kind of do that same thing. We're trained to
I was
not
saying, out of safety, we're trying to protect other people.
Protect them from that punishment because they might fail.
Yeah.
We haven't.
Interesting.
We have to get out of that mindset of failure is a bad thing.
Well, and I know you have to, anyway, we learn from failure. I know everyone's heard that. However, really pause and take a look at that. When do you really learn? I came up with this saying a while ago, unless we're in a state of confusion, we're not learning. And I said that just because I understand how the brain works. I mean, I'm sure our male listeners will understand this. I don't know necessarily about the females, but maybe I shouldn't, prejudge. Who knows? But like with a video game, how many times have you started with a video game and you did everything you could to conquer that guy on the screen or get to the next level or Mario making the right jump or whatever it is, and you just got so frustrated that you just threw the paddle at the TV. See, I caught all of you. Yeah, I've done that too. Anyway,
you know who you are.
Well, but you notice you come back 3-4 days, a week later, and you sit down and you do the game, and all of a sudden you do the move, and then you go, what did I do? What did I do? How did I do that move? Well, the way the brain works is the brain actually has to get the information in, and it has to have time to process it.
Yeah.
And again, this is true with every human being. The brain works 24/7, whether you're consciously thinking about it or not. Even though that you're off doing other things, going to work, talking to people all day, guess what? Your subconscious is still working on, okay, how can I get over that hump in that video game? And then when you come back, it's put everything together, and that's why you're able to do it. And so that's why it's very important that you see it's going to take some time. That's why I say, unless you're in a state of confusion, you're not learning. When your brain's all spinning, going, man, I can't figure out this math problem. Again, take a break. Go do something else. Let your brain work on it.
Yeah.
Come back later on. You'll go, oh, that's where the aha moments come in, the synapses, they call them. So just have a little faith in yourself.
Well, yeah, there are so many times as an engineer that I've come up and beat my head against a problem that, hour after hour after hour during the day, trying to figure out some thing that I've got to fix or find a problem. And I go home, I'm discouraged. I should be flipping hamburgers at McDonald's. Who do I think I am being an engineer? I'm stupid. I don't know what's going on. And I go to sleep. I put that, I consciously now, I didn't always consciously do this before, but I consciously say, okay, subconscious, here's this problem. I need you to chunk on this while I'm sleeping tonight.
Right?
And I wake up and I get in the shower and I'll be right in the middle of washing my hair or doing something that's like, oh my gosh.
Develop a writing pad for the shower.
Yeah. Why didn't I think of doing this little thing? And I get to work, and I try that little thing, and boom, off it goes, and it runs, and it works. That's cool. And there are so many times I have done that, and it is amazing how our brain works. Yeah. And one bit of encouragement I give to everybody as they try and face these new things. You have, if you're listening to my voice right now, have faced and overcome 100% of the things you have. Exactly. Challenges that have gotten you right here. That have gotten you in your in your way. Good way to look at it. You have faced them. You have overcome them, and you are here today to face new challenges. Yes. And it's to me, that's exactly what life is all about: is facing fears, overcoming things, and moving forward. Absolutely. And I know through these, I like to call them challenges. The mistakes we make again are learning tools. And the other thing is I know you've heard the Tony Robbins saying, the past does not equal the future. Well, I like to take it one step further and say there's no way you can change the past. Everyone's seen the Lion King, and when Rafiki hits Simba in the head, and whack. What'd you do that for? It doesn't matter. It's in the past. I know a lot of times we just hear that and think it's funny, but that's reality. Once you've done it, it's pointless to beat yourself up about it. Yeah. It really is.
A matter of fact, that does sometimes irreparable damage. I don't want to get into too much, but I've worked with people with addictions over the years, and that's the first thing I tell them is you got to stop beating yourself up when you slip up, because that feeds the addiction.
Yeah.
And after they understand that, they go, oh, I see what you mean. So if you mess up, you just go, okay, that didn't work. What can I learn from this? Let's move on. Learn what you need to learn from it and move on.
Yeah.
And stop beating yourself up, because that just has a very negative thing. And so look at your mistakes as learning tools. That's all. That's all they are.
Yeah. Set big goals.
Yep.
And if you don't make it, learn, look at what you did do.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, what's that old Indian saying? I don't know if I'm getting it right or not. It's better to shoot for the stars and hit only the moon than aim for the moon and hit only a rock.
Yeah.
So that's the need for big goals. You'll get further. So. No, this is great, Jay. This is good stuff. But yeah, mistakes are okay. I like the word challenges when I look at. If I could, let me just say this: everybody that's listening to us right now, just take a moment and actually say this out loud. Say these words. Say, "I have a problem," and then just wait for a second and notice how that feels. And if I'm even remotely accurate, which I'm sure with 87% of you out there, you're having this feeling of darkness and ick and it feels terrible. But now, take a deep breath, clear that all out, and say this out loud. Say, I have a challenge.
Wow.
Okay, you'll notice the difference. It's just a word. It's just a word. But see, that's why I say thoughts are things. The word and our perception of the word determines the direction that your thoughts go in.
Yeah.
And see, we've always seen a challenge as, oh, you're going to challenge me. Well, I'll show you.
That's right.
Whereas if we say problem, it feels like something that's never going to go away. It's something that we are born with or something.
Yeah.
And see, nothing could be further from the truth.
It's almost like an insurmountable thing. If you say it's a problem, how do I overcome this problem? Problems are like other people have problems and they get stalled by them. And how do I overcome that? I can't overcome a problem.
No.
But a challenge, challenge me. I'm up for that.
Exactly.
Come at me.
I'll do this when I speak in groups and things like that. I'll stand up in front and I'll say, guys, I can honestly stand up here before you today and say that I have no problems in my life. Zero, zip, nada. Who believes me? And of course, no hands go up. But then I say, guess what? I don't have any problems, but I do have a lot of challenges. I choose to look at them that way.
Yeah.
I choose to look at them that there is a solution. If I just keep at it long enough, I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
So enjoy the journey.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the nice thing about this as you learn these new things, you build, I call it muscle. Whether it's mental muscle, whether it's physical muscle, if you want to walk more, you want to become healthier, you build physical muscle. If you want to learn a new language, you're building mental muscle. When you want to overcome a challenge, you're building new spiritual muscle.
Yeah.
New
absolutely
abilities that you never knew you had.
Right.
And I think that's the greatest benefit of this human life, this life we have as people, is if we look at a challenge, people, why did you climb this mountain? Well, because it was there.
Because it was there.
A challenge. It's not a problem that mountain's there.
No.
But
it's beautiful, but I want to see my experience when I get to the top.
Yeah. I want to challenge my body to see if I can get to the top. I want to challenge my body to see if I can drive a car 200 miles an hour.
Right.
All these things that we can experience. I want to see if
not
I can.
on Utah freeways. Right?
Yeah. I want to see if I can challenge my mind to write a new application for the phone. I want to challenge my mind to see if I can learn a new language. I want to experience the world, experience some place that I've never been. That's really, as we get to the point where our body kind of starts to move slower and things, that's what we'll have to remember is those experiences.
Right.
The things we've learned. Well, if you don't learn it, what we have to reflect back on.
Nothing.
And if you keep doing it long enough, maybe your body won't get old and you'll just move on to the next.
Right.
Without that, that getting old isn't for sissies kind of feelings. But,
right.
So it's how we face this human experience that we have, I think.
Well, and one more point on the Rafiki thing about, doesn't matter, it's already happened kind of a thing is we're not able to change the past. But again, a lot of people that I work with, and I don't know what percentage of Americans, but there's quite a few, they live in the past all the time. They're constantly bringing up, well, this happened to me and this happened to me, and so therefore I can't do this. And it's like, well, again, just because you tried it one time and it didn't work doesn't mean it won't work the second time. It doesn't mean, are you willing to try something different? I like the phrase, are you willing, do you have the courage to begin again?
Yeah.
Because if you stay there and dwell in that, all you're ever going to have is what you have now.
Right.
And in some cases, you'll go backwards even from this.
Well, and the goal can be the same. If you fail, you take what you learn. Maybe you take a different tack.
Yeah, that's what you do. That's what you do.
You go at
That's
it
not
from a
working,
different direction.
What is that? And what's that old
Can't
saying?
scale this cliff.
No.
I'll go around the back where it's
Correct.
It's an easier walk up to the top
Exactly.
of that mountain, maybe.
But then there's some people that want to take the shovel and try to dig their way through.
Yeah.
But again, I don't recommend that. But, some people have their ways of doing things. That saying, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Well, stop for a minute and think about that.
Exactly.
If you're doing exactly what you've done for the last 5 years, if you do the same things for the next 5 years, nothing's going to change. I can promise you that. But these changes that we are talking about making, they don't have to be big. Subtle things changes your trajectory.
Yeah.
Getting up 5 minutes earlier every day changes your I could share story. Anyway, we just don't have enough time. I could share story upon story upon story how I've asked people to just do one simple thing. This one guy said, well, I'm going to do a jumping jack. One jumping jack. I asked him, what can you commit to me to do that you're not doing now, but you can commit to do it every day no matter what, whether you're sick or not? And he said, I can do one jumping jack. And I said, okay, good, do it. Totally different person in a year.
Yeah. Well, like they say, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got.
Yep.
So,
exactly. And so, again, take this time here to ponder that. I mean, if you're not where you want to be right now, again, don't beat yourself up. That's pointless. Stop, set your goals. What would you like to see happen? And understand it's going to take some time. But here's another thing I can promise you is it's not going to take as long as you think.
yeah, absolutely.
Do it, because I don't have a magic wand. I don't have a crystal ball. I can't tell you how long it's going to take. But what I just told you is truth. Every time I've told a client that, it's not going to take as long as you think. It's amazing, because I'll tell them after they get successful at whatever it is they're looking at. I ask them all the time, how long did you think it was going to take? And they'll tell me 2 years, 5 years. Oh, it happened in 4 months. Wow.
Yeah.
But if you'd have never taken this different action, you'd have been in the same spot.
Yeah.
So
Okay, so here's your call to action. This is your call to action for today. Take that first step. That's my challenge to you. Take that first step.
drum roll, please.
It's going to be hard.
Yes.
You are not going to do well at first.
Okay.
You're going to make mistakes.
This is truth speaking.
You're not going to do well. You're going to make mistakes. Learn from your mistakes.
And it's okay to make mistakes.
That's right. Make them challenges, not problems. Don't give up.
Never.
Don't give up. Remember that you really wanted to do this. Put that in your mind. Remember you really wanted to do this. Work on it every day. Work hard. Learn. Build whatever muscle it takes. And I promise you, like Brad has said, you will get better.
Absolutely.
It will happen, and it'll happen faster than you think.
And notice the little things.
Yeah.
I can't stress that enough.
Measure your wins. Measure those little wins, those steps that didn't hurt, the things where you succeeded, and you will change your life. You will look back and you will know that the person you were last month, 6 months ago, a year ago, they would not recognize you on the street today when you look back where you've made the changes.
Absolutely.
So, okay, that's our show for today. I'm going to call it a show.
And thank you, Jay, for having me on. This was fun.
I appreciate you being willing to talk with me today. You've got
No
a lot
problem.
of great insight.
Thank you.
So that's our rebuilding for today. And I just want you to remember that a dream written down with a date is a goal. And a goal achieved is a dream come true. And I want all of you to have your dreams come true. So this is Jay Walter with Rebuilding, and as always, I am rebuilding.